the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today. Welcome to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. I'm Vicki Davis. Now, usually on the first episode of a podcast, people kind of talk about themselves, but I really want to talk about what it means for you to be a teacher. Now, at the end of the show, I'm going to tell you how you can win a MakerBot Mini for your classroom. But first, I want to tell you about Sue and Ms. Scruggs. Now, Sue was a very poor girl in Alabama in the late 1950s. Early 1960s. She was waiting at the bus and she had to go home. She had to milk cows. She had so many jobs she had to do late in the day. It had about 20 minutes till the bus came and she heard a tap, tap, tap coming up behind her. Well, it was Miss Scruggs, and Miss Scruggs reached over and said, "Sue, I'd like to talk to you in my classroom." Well, Sue did not want to miss the bus because if she missed her bus, her mom had to fire up the old car, drive into town, and would be very unhappy with her. Well, Miss Scruggs kind of could tell what she was thinking, and she said, "No, Sue, I'm not going to make you late. I just need to talk to you privately." So Sue went and followed her, tap, 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 back to Miss Scruggs' classroom and sat across the desk. And she watched as Miss Scruggs thought for just a minute and kind of folded her fingers in that sort of steeple thing that some of us teachers do and kind of tapped her fingers together. Well, Miss Scruggs looked at her and said, "Sue, I think you're a leader and I think you need to run for student government." Well, Sue was really shocked because Sue was poor and she did not think of herself as popular because the popular kids were the ones who had the cute little initials on their shirts and had the poodle skirts and, had the convertibles, and they just, had everything together, and they were the cheerleaders. But that was not Sue, because Sue had looked at her hands and she had these chapped hands from milking cows, and she was just not very popular. Well, she said, "Miss Scruggs, I will think about it." So she went home, and as she was milking that cow that night, she thought about it, and cooking dinner, she thought about it, and she was laying in bed that night kind of looking at the ceiling, and she started counting her friends, and she thought about the 7 kids who were her friends who lived in an overturned bus with a dirt floor, and their mom swept it every day and did the very best she could for them. And then she thought about a lot of her friends who didn't come to school every day because sometimes they were hunting in the woods or fishing in the lakes to try to feed their family. She realized she had a lot of friends. Her friends were poor and her friends weren't very popular, but there were a whole lot of kids who were her friends. So she went to school the next day and she sat back across from Miss Scruggs again. And she said, "You know what, Miss Scruggs, I have decided I'm going to run for student government." Well, once she put her name in the hat and the posters started going up and people started realizing that Sue really was going to run for student government, oh, you should have seen the people pointing at her, the popular kids kind of looking her direction and kind of blinking their eyes with knowing looks like, who does she think she is? She was definitely upsetting the pecking order of the school. But you know what? On the day of the election, her friends in the overturned bus came, and all of her friends who needed to hunt for their families to eat rushed up and came to school, and they weren't hunting and fishing that day. They were at school voting for Sue, and Sue won the election. And not surprisingly, it completely changed the course of Sue's life. That one conversation with that remarkable teacher who thought about somebody who nobody else paid attention to. Well, Sue started looking higher and thought, you know what? I want to go to college. So she was able to get into Auburn University, and she had to work 2 jobs to send herself, and her parents sent as much as they could, but she made it, and she became a teacher. While she was at Auburn, she met a man named James, and after she graduated, they got married. Now, a couple years later, in April, they had a little girl, and they named her Victoria, which means victorious spirit, which really kind of fit Sue's life to that point because Sue had overcome. Now, those of you who know me have already guessed that Sue is my mom, and they called their little baby Victoria Vicky, and I am a result of a conversation of a remarkable teacher. As I was planning this episode and I was up in the middle of the night just trying to figure out what's the best thing I can bring teachers to help them see the heart of who they are, but also my heart for them, I realized, you know what, my very pulse is owed to the fact of a conversation that a remarkable teacher had with a little girl nobody noticed, because that is remarkable. And welcome to my show for remarkable educators. You know, the thing about teaching, I've been teaching now for 15 years at the K-12 level, and we are so busy. So I wanted to create a show 5 days a week. Yes, I said 5 days a week for remarkable educators. Now, every day has a theme. So Mondays are Motivational Mondays. Tuesdays are Tech Tool Tuesdays. Wednesdays are Wildcard Wednesdays, where you're going to have all kinds of projects and cool, awesome things that teachers all across the world are doing. Thursdays are Thought Leader Thursdays, where the research in the books are all related to the classroom. And then I'm bringing something from my popular newsletter over to Friday, and we're going to have 5 Idea Friday. So this Friday, we have Michael Matera, who's going to give us 5 ideas for bringing game-based learning into your classroom. But you know, this show, The 10-Minute Teacher, is really part of my life's purpose. I spent some time in December doing some life planning, and my purpose statement is to inspire and teach people to do remarkable things with great love. And I am the personal embodiment, the living, breathing example of the power of a teacher. And I just can't tell you how much that means to me to realize that's who I am, both in what I'm saying, but in my very flesh and blood. I'm here because a teacher had a conversation with my mom. So let me tell you about the giveaway. The exciting thing about starting something new is a lot of times friends and companies you've worked with will come alongside and help you. Now, one of the things that iTunes does is they decide if you're worth listening to and sharing with others by how many people download your show and also how many reviews you get. So I've decided to help those who help the show along and leave a review by entering your names into various drawings. And I have lots of things that we're going to be giving away this February. First of all is a MakerBot Mini replicator. So what you need to do is between now and February 14th to go onto iTunes and leave a review. Now, the cool thing is anybody who leaves a review February 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of 2017 will be entered twice. So go ahead and leave your review of the show, and Lisa Durf, my assistant, will take all of those and put them in the hat and draw them out. Now, how are we going to reach you? Well, you're going to have to put your Twitter handle, your Instagram handle, or some kind of link you don't mind to be shared publicly so we know how to reach you if your name is drawn. Now, the next episode that I have will actually go live today. I have 4 episodes going live on the first day, and we'll be giving away a book. Now, books will be open for 24 hours, but don't worry, if you win a book, then you will still be entered for the MakerBot Replicator Mini. The only thing I ask is I want that MakerBot Mini to be in a classroom with students. So though, if you win, you have to be a teacher in a classroom with students or at it full-time at a school and tell us what classroom it will go in. I don't want it in somebody's office. I want it in a classroom with students to make a difference, because that's what this show is about. So, teacher, just remember, you are remarkable. Thank you so much for joining us on our journey here, and stay tuned. Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.